This week, as I teach myself faceting, we're going to have a go at amethyst, a beautiful purple stone. I'm starting off by pre-forming and taking some measurements so I can put it in a setting. I'm using a plan for a standard round brilliant that I should be following, as this is an easy one to learn on. I'm pre-forming the pavilion here, which is in effect the mirror that reflects back light. It's got to be at the right angle. Right, so we're now set at 42.10 and we're going to start the first facet at 3. So 42.10 there and 3 on the wheel. Water, speed. Glasses, oh yeah, there we go. Next one, 9. And we'll see how close they are. $15. So I'm listening and I'm watching. And they're just forming nicely. Okay, so that's the first set of facets done, and we're now going to go to the second set of facets on the pavilion, which is set at 41 degrees. So simply move this. To 41, and it starts at 6 on the index wheel. Alright, let's see what happens. Wind it up a bit. And let's see where it falls. Okay. Next one's at 18. Okay, that's both crown facets done. So what we're going to do now is shape up the girdle. For that we're going to go to 90 degrees, or just slightly under, pretty much on 90, and we'll use the same disc, although it'll take some time, and we'll lock this into place at the first index angle, which is 3. One, 2, 3. Okay, we're ready to go. Wind it down. And touch to see if we're in line. Perfect. That's the first one in. We'll go to the second one, which is at 9. Getting this accurate will make the crown accurate, so this is an important step. Right, you get the gist. I'll come back to you later. Right, we're on the last girdle facet now. And what we might do is change it up to a 3000 grit just to smooth it all off. Right. Obviously that's looking a bit misty, which it would do at this stage because it's not been polished. So we'll do exactly the same now with a 3000 grit, smooth it all off and then go to the polish. So we're just finishing off the second set of facets on the pavilion, which is the pointy bit. And we're using the 3000 grit just to give it a fine smoothing, polishing. If it was wood, it would be a fine sanding before the final finish. So 41 degrees, and all I'm going to do is lightly touch the facet so it just takes off any rough sanding and brings it down to smooth sanding, ready for the final polish. So the first setting is at 6 degrees. And it literally is just a light touch. That'll do. 18. So, what do we see? As you can see, it's getting very, very smooth now, and we're ready for the polishing stage. So let's do that. So for the polishing stage, I'm using this zinc lamp, and I'm just going to clean it off because we don't want any contamination on there. I've taken the water supply off because we're now into using lubricant like WD-40. And for polishing, we're going to use, if I can find it, this diamond grit, which is mixed up with some sort of oil, who knows what it is. Whilst I'm doing this, I'm also feeling for any roughness in the disc. It's nice and smooth. Okay, I think we're ready. So we'll start with, we'll start with the ones we were cutting, which is pavilion number 2 at 41 degrees. Let's double check that. Yes, 41 degrees. And the first one is done at 6. So we're set at 6. Make sure we're not quite touching. And we'll turn it on for a slow, gentle rotation. to 18. You never know how a stone's going to polish, you never know what you're going to have to use, according to all the experts. So this is trial and error. To clean this off. I don't actually know what revolutions this wheel should be spinning at. It feels a bit slow at the moment. This amethyst is fairly hard. It's a form of quartz. I'm not convinced that's doing a lot at the moment, but I'll carry on with it, pump up the speed perhaps, and come back to you. Right, there she is. It was a pig to do because it didn't want to polish up. And it's still not perfect, but let's carry on with it. I had to go to the zinc lap, then to the copper lap, then to the copper lap with various sorts of polishing compounds. And it's very, very hard, which is good. That's what you want in a jewel. But it was difficult to get this shiny and this straight. The reason I didn't film most of that is because you wouldn't have appreciated the language, but we got there in the end. So what we're going to do now is transfer the gem and start doing the crown. See how it goes. Hopefully that'll be a tad easier. So what am I using? 2-part epoxy Gorilla Glue, I think, 5 minutes, but of course we don't leave it for 5 minutes. We leave it for several hours so it sets off properly, because one thing you don't want is once you put this stone together on the dots for it to come off. A little dab on the end there, and move it down, and then we tip it upside down and let the glue fall, and then we keep an eye on it all for a few seconds. We want it to really stick well, so you might think we're using an awful lot of glue here. It all helps. And we're trying to avoid it going on the girdle, because it's the girdle that will enable me to line the gem up. Right, again, you don't want to watch glue setting. Right, we'll just get a little bit of wax off the end of the stone. Whoa, did you see that? They do backfire a bit, these things. So whoever makes these, perhaps change the design a tad. So I'm going to try and find a nice clean girdle facet. Set ourselves at 90. Rest the girdle facet on the cutting disc so we know it's all straight. Okay, so that's not moving. And we're lined up. So the crown starts with an angle of 42.3 degrees degrees. I'll cut in the plan so you can see what I'm talking about. So we set it at 42.3. Put some glasses on. Put the water reservoir on. Start the drip. Start the machine. We're using a 260 disc just to shake the stone down, as we did the bottom part of the jewel, the pavilion, jewel, I don't know, what do we call it, stone. Set on freewheel. This is always a bit stiff. There we go, got it. This might look a bit harsh, but what we're trying to do on this very, very hard stone is just shape the stone to the first angle to about where we want the girdle to be. So we're looking for this square area just here. Hopefully you can see that. The edge of the jewel. 1/2 millimetre at most. Right, I think I'm going to call that and try and put the first facet in. So we're at 42.3 because we haven't moved it. We're going to release the freewheel mechanism. There we go, so we're in lock. And it starts at 3 degrees. 26, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to change the stone because that's a bit too harsh. Not stone, the disc. Take it up a notch and bring it down. So what I'm doing is listening for less friction so I know I've reached a certain point, and then we'll set that as the point to cut to for the initial cut. Just a tad more. Don't know what you can see, but the first facet is in. Okay, let's go for the next one, which is at 9. This is a round brilliant again because we're practicing on the stuff that's simple to do. So I can hear it cutting, cutting, cutting. Eases off on the sound. Have a look. Okay, happy with that, and I'll go to the next one. This is just the first cut. We can adjust them slightly as we go along. So I've roughly cut using 1200 the first set of facets, and what I'm going to do now is use a 3000 and get them in accurately, and then we'll go to the second set. Ooh, peace and quiet. Okay, so the first facets have been cut on the crown using the 500 disc and then the 3000 disc. I'm going to stick with the 3000 disc now and cut the second set of facets at 35 degrees. going to take it steady with the second facet until we find out exactly where we are. So that's the right height, and it starts at 96 on the index wheel. So here goes. Remember, I'm trying to gauge the depth by screwing this in and having a look, screwing it in, having a look. So once we've got to the right facet depth, you know the rest should be roughly in the same place. It's just coming in at the top there. Its way down. So I'll try and zoom this in on the computer, but you can see it's now beginning to head towards the girdle there, so we're almost there. So I know that's now the cut point, so if I take it to the next facet, which is at 12 degrees, 12, I can afford to be aggressive by just letting it down, and we'll listen out for the noise it makes as it begins to reach the point where the other facet is cut. Of course, don't rely upon anything, check with your eyes, your ears and the feel. Almost there. same point on the disc as well, not playing with it, so everything is accurate. Now if you're using the American style of cutting equipment, they have stop points and end points, and this is mounted on a mast. Have a look on YouTube. They can be a lot more blasé about how they cut, because the machine literally won't go any further once it reaches the end point. Whereas with this, you've got a little bit of fine play you can use with your hands. So that's the second one cut in. I'll carry on with the rest and bring you back when it's done. Close. As a matter of fact, I think close enough, because even with the polish, it can take a little bit of the stone away, which of course is what polishing is. Again, I'll try and zoom in, but hopefully you can see that point facet and that facet meeting. I'll do the rest and come back to you. Okay, we're on the last facet at 19.8 degrees. That's at 90. That went quickly because we cut the rest of the stone away. So let's show you what we've got so far. We're now ready for the top facet, which is the table, and that's done out. Straight up and down. This is the biggie. No, we'll keep that in. Let's wind it right up. This is crucial. This is the window into the stone. Although it will take a long time, I'm using the 3000, so we might as well start with a smooth base. There's Mrs. Harris in the background talking to her cat. So we're into the polishing stage now. What I'm using is this diamond compound. There's a lot of strange noises in the background. It's the wine. Slow revolutions, lightly touching. I've tried heavy touching, fast revolutions and anywhere in between. I haven't been trained formally, so I don't really know what you're supposed to do with this. But we'll see if it works. If you do know, please, when you're watching, please comment. So we're doing the table, it's a big facet. I'm just going to carry on doing this till it gleams, and I'll come back to you when we know if it works. Okay, so we got the first one polished, first facet, the table. Not quite happy with it yet, but the polishing is the most difficult bit. So let's just see how we do with the rest of the crown in a minute. So 42.3 degrees. Okay, pleased with those. So the final facets, 19.8 degrees. it starts at 6 on the index wheel. Let's wind it up and bring home these final facets. I'll finish these off and then we'll do a reveal.